Welcome to the Growing Gorillas podcast. I'm Kisa Davison.
And I'm Travis Davison.
And this podcast is all about parenting. The ups, the downs.
The in-betweens.
We have absolutely no idea what we're doing.
But likely neither do you.
So kick back, relax, and enjoy.
Special thank you to the Cleared Hot podcast for use of the studio and Andy Stump for all of his invaluable information.
If you'd like to learn more about Cleared Hot, visit clearedhotpodcast.com.
Let's do this.
Drink LMNT. LMNT is our podcast sponsor today. It's a healthy alternative to sugary electrolyte drinks. Every grab-and-go stick pack replaces all the essential electrolytes that you need with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. I drink LMNT every day, and so does Travis, to support...
Because it's delicious.
Well, I was going to say, I drink it to support my hydration. I would say my low-carb diet, my fast, my workouts, etc., but none of those things are true. I just drink it because it's good, and I need water in the morning. My favorite flavor is definitely the orange one, and the green one, and the pink one.
Yes, you're saying raspberry, orange, and lime.
Correct.
Which I don't disagree with you on. However, the watermelon is delicious.
And let's not forget the chili lime is good with tequila, as is the habanero mango, I think. The two spicy ones are really good with tequila. Not recommended in the morning, but still good with tequila.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like, I guess, counterbalances.
Totally. It's a math equation. It works out somehow.
I don't think Rob Wolf necessarily is going to stand behind that.
I know, but he's not here, so...
That's true.
I'm the official on the subject. But listen, here's the cool part. As a member of our Growing Gorillas community, LMNT has a very, very, very cool offer for you. You can let them know that you are interested in trying out a sample pack. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping, so you can get yours.
Which is what, like $5?
I don't know.
I think it's like $5. Anyways.
I just charge things on my credit card. I don't look at it.
Cheap.
So here's the URL. drinklmnt.com/growing gorillas. Now remember, growing gorillas, you have to spell all the way out, and there's 2 G's right in the middle, so don't screw it up. drinklmnt.com/growing gorillas.
And in the words of Stella Davison, hydrate or dihydrate.
I feel like LMNT should adopt that as their new
Well,
tagline.
they just did.
Okay. All right. This week's episode of Growing Gorillas podcast, we have a conversation with Jaime and Jaime Boone. They, seriously, one of the most adorable couple you'll ever meet. Couples.
Super. Well, you know how nice Canadians are.
Well, John's Canadian. Jamie's not.
Right.
I guess that makes John nice, but Jaime not nice.
Maybe.
Well, anyway, they've been happily married for 16 years. They've got 2 boys, aged 13 and 10. Jaime was actually a preschool teacher for 17 years, if you can believe that. God bless her soul. And John is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, a coach, and a really, really, really good chef.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to cook, and he does a great job of feeding us on Wednesdays and Fridays. Probably plug Salt and Butter for him as well. His company, currently I think he's just bringing food to the gyms at this point.
So good, so good. So like the rest of us, they've had their fair share of peaks and valleys, both not only family related, but business related, personal related. And my favorite part about this podcast is that, seriously, I don't know that I've met 2 more real people who not only can cry, but will also be happy to laugh with you about those peaks and valleys.
Yeah, and I think obviously we have a lot in common. They started a gym in California, outgrew the gym a couple of times. And then unfortunately, fortunate for us.
I was going to say, it's actually fortunate for us, maybe unfortunate for them, but fortunate for us.
Yeah, I mean, COVID in California ultimately caused them
C2, C squared.
Yeah, the worst place to deal with COVID, and ultimately ended up having to sell their business and relocate to Montana.
Flathead Valley. Ooh, ooh. So they and their boys now train at SBG in... Oh, never mind.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They will.
Anyway, John trains and coaches at SPG.
Yeah, John's been a godsend for the gym for sure.
And Jaime is a Beastie Boys fan.
Yes, she is.
So with that, enjoy.
Kisa had this great idea.
I'm like an idea generator.
She is the visionary.
I'm most definitely not a very good executor, but I am.
She's a good executioner because I'm sure I'm going to die an early death because of all of her ideas.
That is what
That's
the
true.
better halves.
I feel like I have wonderful ideas too. And then John, 2 weeks later, will be like, God, I just thought of the best thing. No, you didn't. You're remembering how rad I am.
I
Again, the
remember
scientific
a couple years ago when you and I were talking about salt and butter. And
It was my idea.
I'm not surprised, actually. No, Kisa had a great idea because, as you guys know, obviously, Kisa and I developed a child development program for. It's jiu-jitsu, but it's really a child development program because it goes so much further beyond just teaching kids jiu-jitsu.
That was also my idea. Check.
Okay. You sure you don't want to introduce this?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So
Hit them all, Trev.
she came up with this idea probably a year ago or more. And at the time, I just wasn't really... I didn't have the energy or the intelligence, all of the above.
Grace.
And so I never really got fully on board with it, or even on board with it maybe at all. She bought equipment, did all this stuff, and recorded a few, and had this idea of doing a podcast for parents, current parents, future parents, and something that would kind of tie in with the child development program. And recently I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. We should totally do that. and the stars aligned. And so we started doing it. And what we've been doing is just asking parents, to come on for different reasons, everybody has something to contribute to the conversation. And, when I'm sure you guys got a better manual than we did when we started having children. Did you?
Did you get a manual?
I'm not sharing it with you.
Then you can't be on the podcast.
That's the whole point.
No, I worked at a preschool.
Oh my gosh,
And
you did have a manual.
I did kind of have a
You
manual
little
because I
shit.
practiced with other people's kids first.
Oh.
And that's why another reason John knew he could marry me, because we wouldn't fuck up our kids too bad. He's like, you'll be a great mom. So let's do this.
That was a parameter.
Yeah, but I worked there for 17 years and I was the director of the infant toddler program in the end, but it was 6 weeks to kindergarten. And so kind of I had a manual, and I come from the giant family. I don't know if you remember,
Yes.
but my
Yes.
mom is one of 17 children. So I helped raise cousins and my brothers. And so
So you're the first guest who really did have an unfair advantage.
I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing though. So we'll see how it goes.
I will say, and this is never, I'm not putting I would never put my wife down. But the difference.
That's so funny that
you've
you would lead
noticed-
with that.
Well, it occurred to me how
I
it
liked
might
how you
sound.
started blocking too at the
Well,
same time.
Don't kick me under the table. No, but while there's an advantage to that, it's also when you're taking care of somebody else's kids, you tend to err on, if you're a good human, you err on the side of caution because of the accountability factor. So I feel like while
That's a great
she
point.
knows a ton about how kids develop at that age, we both fell under the smokescreen of probably a little too much caution with our own kids, because she would get parents coming into the preschool screaming like, how did my son get this scratch on his face? How did this child get a tiny bite mark on their arm? And she was on the defensive a lot.
Did you ever say, "Oh, I did that"?
That's a good one. No, but seriously getting yelled at because your child's dirty. Well, dirt is a sign that they had the best day ever, but some parents don't want to hear that. So John's right. We learned with our first child, we were like super overly cautious, and it was definitely a detriment to him, I think. And then we had some friends who, quite shockingly, their kids were like 3 years old and they're climbing these trees. Nobody's spotting them. They're bringing their mom wine. And, you know, I'm just like, ugh. She's like, it's fine, Jamie. This is normal for us. Like, we're good. And thankfully, those friends came into our life because we were the typical helicopter parents, like,
Back up. Their 3-year-old child was bringing mom wine?
yes, red wine through the house. It's just like,
With
do
white
you want
carpet?
me to get that? Like, I don't know.
Now
you know?
Kisa really wants another baby. She already wanted another baby. See, we missed that opportunity.
My 17-year-old did bring me a beer last night. Or a ginger beer.
He's 17.
I know.
Ginger beer doesn't count. That's soda.
Oh my gosh, it's
No, it's
so
like
high octane.
7, 8.
I know. I should
like
not
2
have had
beers.
that one that he brought me.
Oh.
Actually, you know what? Now
Like a
that I think about
ginger
it,
beer.
my
It's alcoholic ginger beer.
My 17-year-old overserved me last night. Now that I think about it.
Hey, I got laid, so I don't really care.
It worked.
Okay, so back to the podcast.
So no, let's introduce your kids as far as like how old are they, names, all that good stuff, because we know them, but
Do you want to?
Sure. We have Jack Marcel Boone, and he's 13, birthday in September. And we have Levi John Boone, who's 10, birthday in January.
so you're
He
still
just
you're-
turned 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
You guys are right in the thick of it.
Yeah, you are.
We've been there for a while, in the thick of it. I feel like it's much easier now.
Yeah,
actually.
I was just going to say
Yeah.
the exact same thing. I don't know if it's synchronous with our arrival
Our
here
move.
and just like kind
Oh,
of having
interesting.
like our feet kind of settled a little more.
How have they adjusted to the move from California to Montana?
They love it. They couldn't be happier. Every time I ask them, they're like, why do you keep asking us if we're okay? Like, we love it, Mom. I'm like, all right.
No, I think that, but I mean, you guys moved from Southern California,
Yeah.
and
It's warm and sunny.
this is actually an interesting topic because one of the impetuses for Kisa and I's move is she did not want to raise kids in a big city. And we were in Portland, Oregon, which is, for Oregon's a big city, but I
Yeah.
mean, I grew up in Southern California. Southern California is the definition of just like sprawling big city. So what's it like in terms of, is it feel different raising them now in a small town versus a big city environment? I mean, because as a parent, I would have been nervous at their ages that they would have gotten accustomed to, young people tend to gravitate towards big cities and what big cities have to offer. And then, not that we're older, but more mature people tend to be like, you know what, get me out of the city. I want a slower pace. I want,
They definitely arrived kind of onto the same page as us in terms of what they wanted. I think they just felt like there's something to be said about an endless summer. Like there's positives, but it kind of sucks too. There's just no variety to it.
There's
Now,
no snow.
Yeah, but and winter sucks, like we all know, but it makes you appreciate
really.
spring, summer, and fall, and those actually have meaning and there's things to do. And I think
Right.
just
I mean,
appreciating the seasons.
For
but
the listeners, winter sucks in Montana. Don't come here. But
Right.
wink, wink. I actually like the winter here, to be honest.
Honestly, everybody kept asking me how it was. And other than being scared to drive sometimes, I loved it. I
wasn't-
really did.
We
That
had
was my
actually a
biggest
very.
I heard it was mild.
It was
That
a
was
very
my
mild
biggest
winter. So
When Keith was like, we're taking that job, we're moving the kids to Montana, this is it, we'll do it. And my biggest fear was driving in the winter. Like that was my single biggest fear moving.
and
here.
I was like, oh, honey, I'll teach you.
And then I got here and I was like, they keep the roads like so perfect.
super
and
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And there's something to be said for studded tires and front wheel drive.
Yeah. Big difference. I had rear wheel drive growing up in Canada, and you were like a slaloming snake all over the place. And yeah, I don't recall having a single issue with either car while we were here the whole winter. So
the
cool.
boys like it.
They
love
love
it.
They love it.
I think the best
Love
part
it.
so far, not to put Flathead Valley on the map more for other people, is the schools are fantastic.
The teachers are phenomenal.
100% amazing. My
Really?
kids love their teachers. They love their element. Like Levi's at Edgerton loves it. Great teachers. Lots of outreach, lots of communication. He feels like he's learning stuff. He's coming home with work that he's proud of. Jack Jack's in 8th grade, like last year, middle school, got into the school year,
KMS,
January.
right?
Yeah, KMS.
Yep.
But January, middle of the school year is when he started. And I don't know that there's a more awkward time than 7th
Right.
and 8th grade. And he's arriving at the tail end of it. So these kids have probably gone K through 8 together.
Yep.
Almost
Yeah, a lot of them
universally,
together.
right? He's not felt any animosity, weirdness. He's felt nothing but welcomed by all the teachers, challenged by all the teachers, which he loves. The schoolwork feels and looks a lot like the kind of schoolwork we got as kids, like very familiar. This is history. This is math. This, it wasn't convoluted with feelings, and it was an education, right? They were there to learn things, and he's learning, and he is flourishing. We haven't seen him this happy in probably since the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
So at that age too, 13. So, I mean, it can kind of go one of two ways, right? Either you had a great life and you were living exactly how you wanted to be living, and then your parents ripped you out of that comfort zone and shove you into this new community where you don't know anyone. How will anyone, know who you are, how to interact with you, and you don't even know where the bathroom is. Or what it sounds like Jack has done, which is, hey, I get to decide how this is going to work, and I'm going to embrace every change that there is.
Definitely. And he had such a hard time at the schools in LA for the past few years that he was just so ready for a change. Like he didn't feel a sense of real community. He didn't feel like he belonged. Like there was a lot of bullying, just like really aggressively, like, I don't know. He felt ready he said, I just want to go to a normal school. I just want to go somewhere where it's like on TV, Mom. Like, I just want that. And I think LA is interesting because they're trying really, really hard to be so inclusive.
I was just going to say, it's kind of interesting, like with all the feelings mixed into the homework, like there was more bullying in that environment than there is without all the extra.
I'm sure that not every child felt the same way, but when you're living in kind of a gentrified community where you're blonde and tall and you have blue eyes and you're just not fitting in. So props, that like they're really addressing a lot of the social issues of the time, but it was almost so much that it made Jack feel personally responsible for all of these horrible things that were
He was
happening
carrying the
around
weight
him.
of slavery in the
Yes,
United States.
for sure. And he was physically attacked because he is a white boy, and
I think during the 7th grade, during Black History Month, they had a lot of presentations in the auditorium on the material. And I think demographically, the school he was in, he was like very much a minority. He was like, I think it was like 5% Caucasian, 8% Asian, and then Hispanic and African American making up the other part of it. And he told me when he got home that during the presentation, he felt like he had to pull his hood up over his head and kind of just shrink down into his chair because he could hear people behind him saying, "It's your fault. You're a bad man." Like just daggers
What a
at him.
terrible weight for a child to carry.
Completely 100% not the way we raised him. He knows, as Levi does, that I think any good human just judges others on the quality of their character, not the color of their skin. And I think that's the message they're trying to get across, but they do it in such an aggressive manner that the message is lost in the
delivery.
Yeah, in the delivery.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely there's, something missing there. So he's not feeling that now.
No, and I feel too that the preschool that I worked at, we had a lot of clientele from JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So these are people from all over the world, scientists, whatnot. It's like a Benetton ad, and it was also my friend and the director's dream to be able to offer the same education to well-to-do people as to lower income families who couldn't afford it. And so we did accept a lot of, it's called like CCIS, a lot of, the government helped us out because we wanted to have that equality. So he grew up with all economic backgrounds, all colors, all kinds. He just couldn't grasp why they were doing this to him. Like, why do you think that I feel this way? Like, I don't, you know? And it was almost like the nicer he was, the more he got picked on.
Yeah.
Because he was just so sweet, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't, and I probably am speaking for you too, I couldn't fathom what he was going through because I've never experienced anything like that before. So when he's coming to John and I telling us how bad it is, we didn't really know how bad it was. Like I just couldn't grasp that people would do that to my son.
Did Levi have a similar experience, or was that more of a middle school?
I think it was more middle school, but I think also you've seen our kids. Like Levi has dark hair and he has dark eyes, you know, so he doesn't really stand out that much, right? And Jack's literally 6'1". So, you know, he's always been tall, sweet, you know, and he just stands out. What are you going to do, you know? And
he's 13. He's 6'1", but he's towers over me now.
So he's like about an inch taller than me.
yeah, exactly.
Half an inch. You got it. Yeah.
So I think there's a sense of relief that, you know, he said, I feel like there's multicultural elements to this school like there were there, and that there's transgender and gay and like everybody's there, but it's not an issue. They're just all friends.
Right.
You know, and it's what I always wanted, you know, and I just feel like if there is going to be real change in this world, and if people do truly believe in their hearts that like the white men are the ones who are kind of controlling everything, then maybe we need to address these young children in a different way.
Instead of continuing to lay down a divisive message.
Yeah, because Jack Boone is so kind-hearted and so amazing, and he's also capable and really smart, and he will make positive change in the world. So, you know, here's a child who has all this stuff going for him to like be this element of change, and yet he was constantly hearing that he was the problem, you know, when he wants to be the solution. So we need to rise all of our kids up and not forget the little blonde boys too, you know, like he wants to be part of the solution and not just constantly told, you know, you're the problem or whatever. And like I said, if we didn't experience these things ourselves, like I wouldn't have ever believed that it would be so bad, you know, but he ran away when he was 10. Like it got so bad for him that he didn't want to go to school. He wasn't eating. And, you know, for him, and I want to preface this with, I said, Jack, we're doing this podcast today and it's about parenting and it's for parents and I want to respect you. So if you have anything you don't want me to talk about, let me know because I want to respect your privacy. And he was like, no, Mom, you and Dad are so kind and respectful. I know however you put it, it will help others, right? Anyways, he had kids following him to his car, you know, to the car to beat him up. And we went and talked to the vice principal and she said, maybe I'll get to it tomorrow.
That's actually what she said?
Yeah. I don't have
Or
time
he.
right
I mean, I
now.
don't know. Was it
A
he or
woman.
she?
Yeah, but maybe we can get to this tomorrow. And that night, 10-year-old Jack ran away.
I woke up at 6:15 usual a.m. time, and our front door was open like a half inch. And I thought that was kind of weird. I remembered locking the door. I looked around the house, like, did somebody break in and steal something? And then I kind of looked around. Everything was locked. I'm like, well, that's weird. Everything was where it was supposed to be. And then it was like someone's not in the home. We got to run into his room, and his bedroom's empty. He's gone. And yeah, it was a...
Where did he go?
He wanted to go to Canada because that's where John's from. And he had like about $5 and a couple bars. And he had his nightlight because he's scared of the dark.
He was
Scared of the dark.
Was.
He's so brave now. Sorry, Jack. And he just, we've said before, we've super sheltered him. So he had no idea how dangerous what he was actually doing was. But John and I did, you know, and so...
Obviously, you found him.
We found him.
we had sheriffs combing through our home, combing through our backyard, looking for a body, you know, that kind of
Did he leave a
my
note or
God.
anything?
No.
No.
No, so you had no idea that he could have
idea.
been abducted.
Kidnapped, yeah.
We knew we had the inkling that he left of his own volition, and he had been very turned inward for several months, and we were trying to, you know, draw it out of him and talk with him, and he just was really not, you could tell he wasn't comfortable in his own skin, and he wasn't sure how to express it or talk to us about it. And I think he was talking to us about it, right? Hey, these kids are treating me like this. We heard everything he had to say, and we felt like we'd addressed it appropriately. Like, hey, son, you're going to be okay. You know, we're going to go to school. You're going to toughen up. Like, he'd been training karate with me when he was younger, jiu-jitsu since he was 7. So he has a skill set. But some people will fight early in life. Some people will fight later in life. And he very much doesn't want to hurt anybody, but also he did use his jits a couple times. He had tackled a kid in the 4th grade who punched him from behind, and then he hit a kid back who hit him at Elliott, right? I think at that other school, yeah. So he fought back. He has some fight in him, but I think he was just feeling like the weight of the world on him. So yeah, he actually left our home, walked to the metro station, which was like 4 miles, 3.5 miles from our house, and was going to take the train. Did he get on the train? Did he say that?
He later admitted he got on the train, so he did get on the train. And
he was headed towards like downtown LA, Union Station. I think he was going to, and then he was going from there. He was going to figure out what he was going to do.
How far $5 would get him.
Right, yeah. So then I don't know, he felt like someone was following him or people were watching him.
Well, granted, at this time, we had all of these construction crews at our house because we're trying to build this back house for my mom, and they were all out looking. We had a couple different neighborhood watches out looking, all our friends, all these police. So people were actually scoping you out, you know, and he said he just felt like people were after him, and they were, because they were trying to get you home, you know. So he ended up making his way back home, kind of hiding in the bushes because he was afraid of all these people. And my mom and my sister and my friend Michelle kind of saw him at the same time and got out, and they brought him home. But I can't express enough. I felt like someone had scooped all the good and hope and everything out of my body, and I had a really hard time getting it all back after. Like when your child is just gone, you know, and everybody's like, he'll come back, don't worry about it, like it's gonna be okay. I wasn't worried that he would not want to come back. Like I knew that he would be like, this is a bad idea and I'm scared and I want to go home. I was worried someone was gonna take him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so Levi and I had to stay home while all this happened because somebody had to be home. So Levi also went through the cadaver dogs and let's get the dental records, and me being a shell of myself and not able to be present for him in these times.
How long was he gone?
3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
It was 11. It was about 5 hours.
It's not clear what time he left.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
But from the time you noticed.
It was like 6:15 in the morning, so till
it's her first time. It's okay. She gets a pass.
I forgot about that alarm.
Jack is getting Levi his medication. I made that a thing. I think it was around 10:30, 11 a.m. he got back, and that was. And then the sheriffs want to talk to him and ask him questions.
Like why he left.
Yeah. Right. And so now, like,
to make sure that
you're under the
spotlight.
Yes. Right.
We know what questions they're asking. Like, do your parents this and that to you? Or, you know, is someone yelling? You know, are you feeling scared at home? Like, so then we just want to hug him and hang, and he has to be separated from us and interrogated. So there was that weird kind of experience.
It took a real long time and lots of therapy for our family to be okay. You know, I don't know if personally I go back there and I feel all the same feelings. So, you know, you just...
Well, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, we're talking 3 years ago, right?
2. I think he was 6th grade, right?
He was like 10, almost 11.
He was 11. He was 11, almost 12. Because it was definitely 2 years ago. Because he was at the middle school.
Like if we're gone for any period of time, Levi will have a really hard time thinking that something happened to us.
Yeah, we had to map out this evening. We tell him exactly the timeline. Like, you guys do this and this, this and this. Expect us home right around this time, give or take. You know, we'll call if we're going to be late, just so he's reassured. And he'll probably call us, you know, before the night's out, just to check in.
So Levi was like 7-ish at the time?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we just went to dinner, right, at Leah's. He called me hysterical. Where are you? I thought you just went to dinner. And you forget that for a child, dinner is like a half hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, you know, so John and I were real specific. We're doing this and then this, and it's going to take this long. But I feel like I can handle anything now because I know I could never handle not having my son with me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
on that front, it was the biggest healing, bringing us together as a family, because we'd been going through a lot with helping my mom through her divorce, and then getting this house and trying to build a house and our gym and moving locations and all these things. Nothing matters at all when you don't know where your baby is, you know what I mean? And so it was really an eye-opening thing of, I don't know what you're going through. And that's why I say I have all this background, but the truth is, as parents, we don't know, you know, and I always tell them that there was no handbook. If I make a mistake, I'm going to apologize and we're going to work through it. Like, your father and I love you so much and we're just trying our best, you know. And when he went to the second school after this, the same thing started happening, but I was right there. And I'm telling you guys, they're making a lot of cutbacks in that school system. They made a lot of cutbacks with, like, boys and girls that are having a hard time and would normally be at an orphanage where they can get one-on-one help with the therapist, and they have special schools there for them. All that's ripped away, and now they're infiltrating with normal-ish life children who are leading kind of a normal family life, and that's hard. And I feel for them. But same stuff. They're just upset. And they see, here's this boy, and of course me, I just want to volunteer at the schools so that you know how great we are. Just making it worse, you know. But we caught it right away. I mean, I would go and sit and wait for Jack, because after school I volunteer for this art program, so I would wait and we'd walk there together 3 hours a week, and I heard children talking about raping other children just right there in the office. I saw a lot of fights go down, and it's just so much. And I got to give props out to that principal, because, man, she was trying so hard to be there for these kids and to be on top of it. But they do not have the resources.
Right.
And it got to the point where they said, you know, Jamie, John, we're really sorry, but this isn't a safe place for your son. You might want to homeschool. And that was before COVID. So you're telling me that we moved to this neighborhood and we've made all these life changes and all this stuff, and there's not one school where he's safe? Like, that's a basic, like, children need to feel safe, you know? So for Jack to come here and just feel like one of the, no, you know, like, I just look like everybody else, whatever, you know, but to have that background of empathy for others, you know, like, he was never bitter or mad or upset that people were treating him this way. He was confused and felt like if they would just get to know me, then it would be okay. And that was the problem. He just kept trying to befriend them, and they just kept hurting him, you know. So for them to have their big city experience, it wasn't that great, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense now with that background. Because I think maybe having had our kids grow up here, and then, you know, having so many kids grow up through the gym. I mean, so we've had hundreds of kids, and, you know, they get to that teen years, and it's like, okay, like, you know, move to Missoula, move to Bozeman, and then that's, you know, you get in your 20s, and it's like, okay, it's time to New York City, here I come, or Seattle, or
LA.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to get the perspective from the other side. You know, I guess I don't normally hear that, where a child's growing up in that environment and then they're like, oh, this is not the environment that I want to grow up in.
I think had we had the funds for private school, or
different story.
Maybe it would have been a different story, but that sets a really, I have opinions about, like, how that might affect a kid's idea or perception of what the world owes them, or their place in the world, or expectations on themselves. What, you know, there's a whole list, and it was just something we weren't comfortable doing, not with how much it costs just for the mortgage, you know, and the taxes that we were paying, and for us to feel like we were getting a completely substandard education and opportunities for our kids, that was a tremendous letdown. So yeah, it's a breath of fresh air here. Like, again, the teachers here really give a shit about our kids. We hear from them. The PE teacher puts our son through the most grueling eighth grade,
gosh, right.
Monday through Friday.
Grade. Is it
Mr. Ogden?
Mr. Ogden.
Yes.
Jack said he's like a Viking warrior.
He is a whip cracker.
Yes, KMS too. So
yeah.
And that is one nice thing too. It's like, you say your kids are in middle school. I'm like, oh, okay, they're at KMS.
Yeah.
Because everyone's kids go to KMS.
Yeah.
Right. There's one middle school in town, and then a lot of those teachers have just been there forever. And so
he loves the way they banter, the way they talk with each other, the way they're kind of competitive with each other.
Yeah.
He likes the playfulness. He said one of his favorite parts, and this is him coming from California, is in one teacher's classroom, there's like a rainbow flag on the wall. And then in the other teachers is a "don't tread on me" flag on the wall. And he's like, and these teachers sit across the hall from each other and have no problem with each other. And he's like, I like the idea that we can coexist with these ideas, and it's not, this is the right way. It's, no, this is my way. And that's okay. And I like, your way's fine too, whatever, as long as we're not, we're not hurting each other. I think that was, he said that the other day, and I was like, that's awesome, son. And that he took the time to notice that he sees the relationship between the teachers, the way they interact, not just with the students, but with each other. That's a good.
I think that's also a misconception that a lot of people have about smaller towns, is that in a small town there's this, I think this is what I think that most people think, is that in a small town there's this kind of homogenous population. We look the same, we think the same, we go to the same store, we do all these things. And the reality is that's not how it is at all, as evidenced by Jack's experience at the middle school, that you can have people who, we live in the same small town and maybe we have the same skin color, but that doesn't mean that we believe the same things, and it doesn't mean we're from the same place, and it doesn't mean that we have the same opinions, but we can also interact.
Yeah, I think that for me, my take on it, having grown up in big cities and then, being from a small town, born in a small town, and then growing up in big cities and then coming back to a small town, for me, and as a parent, this is what I like about a small town, is the accountability. I think in a big town, or a big city, what ends up happening is there's this autonomy. Like, nobody knows you. Like, you don't know half the people.
I think that's anonymity.
Anonymity?
Yeah.
Okay. She's better with words than I am, despite
there's
what she said in the beginning.
There's also autonomy, but go back to what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying. It's like why people behave badly with a mask, because you don't know who I am, right? So that wasn't a COVID joke, but
it kind of was.
But no, when like, I know everyone at the bank. They know me by name. In fact, the other day I walked into the bank and they said, "You're Hank's dad."
So they actually don't know him by his real name. They just know him as Hank's dad.
But so people will call you, like you're not even your friends, like people will call you and be like, "Hey, I heard your son did this," or "I heard your son's doing that." And the same with us as adults in a small town. It's like, you don't get to behave badly for very long before people figure out that you're a bad actor. And in a big city, you could be a shitty mechanic forever because you have this endless pool of customers. And so, it's not that we all believe the same thing, other than the fact that we all believe that we should treat each other decently, and that if we want to continue to have people like us and do business with us, we have to, hold up our end of the agreement. And then beyond that, you vote this way, or you go to this church, or you believe this, or you don't believe that. I think that there's a lot of diversity of thought and belief in small towns, but there's a high level of accountability.
Yes.
Like, you don't get a pass,
right,
the way you would in a big city where,
The very first speeding ticket that I ever received at the age of
12.
No, I think I was 15. The cop who pulled me over, I gave my license, and he said, "Wheaton, is Myron Wheaton your dad?" I said, "Oh, Myron's my grandpa." And I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to get off this ticket. I don't have to explain anything." Well, little did I know that my grandpa had a history of DUIs and all sorts of bad traffic.
So that's the accountability.
Yeah, he went to his car and he came back with a fat $65 speeding ticket.
Chip off the old block. He was thinking.
80 and a 55. I feel like I should have had a grace period.
Yeah. But like the teachers too, right? Like they actually get to know the kids and they watch the kids go from grade to grade and they stay involved in their lives. And it's not that I shouldn't say this. I don't know what the teachers in big cities think, but I do think they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I do think it's impossible for them to have any kind of connection to their students because there's just so many of them and they're just cycling them through. And
But I think what I'm also hearing from you is that there's funding and there's also every school board has, because I don't think the student to teacher ratios are necessarily tied tightly to the metropolitan population versus a rural town population. So we might have 25 kids to one teacher, but most of the cities also have, as I understand, I mean, there's a standard, right, for the number of teachers per.
I think Jack's
number of students per
fifth
teacher.
grade class ballooned up to 38.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Right.
You
Which
went in there.
happens.
It's horrible.
Which happens regardless if you're living in a big population. But there is a certain, I guess there's a certain willingness to test new theories in education in larger communities. Larger communities tend to also be, in my experience, more progressive thinking. And so they're like, oh, well, we've got this new, let's try new math. What the fuck is that called? Common Core?
The Common Core.
Oh my God. I wanted to blow my brains out when the kids started learning Common Core.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to do it the old fashioned way.
I'm going to show you how I learned it.
Yeah.
You don't know, Mom. I don't know.
You're right. I don't.
You're right.
It's like
Can we watch a video?
It's an analogy for Jiu-Jitsu almost, where you're trying to stray from the fundamentals and go into something newfangled and la-di-da, and somebody came up with an idea, and because it's new, automatically it's better.
It must be better.
It must be. Like, not the case at all. Again, Jack, he is a reader, an avid book consumer. He loves learning. Like, he's told me the most interesting information about Montana. We've learned more about Montana from him in the last 4 months than we have on our own. Like, we're lazy or bad or something. He comes to us telling us how all sorts of pieces of Montana history, and we're like, I fully engaged in conversation with him for the 15-20 minute car ride from the school back home, like in that parent and child way that you wish you had more of, right? And it's incredible and it's simple. It's just history.
Remind me to send Jack a list of the questions that I have about Montana still.
okay.
Just pick him up from school. I mean, I'm trying to listen to my jams, and he's like, can we turn this down? I'd love to have a conversation.
I think Jack's gotten his fair share of airtime. I want to hear a little bit about Levi, too.
The old second child, the whippersnapper, huh? Yeah. So how did you describe Jack? He's like really sweet and kind.
I thought Levi was the artist. When I was at your house, I thought Levi's drawings,
right, but Travis, everybody knows artists are crazy.
Yeah. He's just a little.
Travis started drawing again, so that was just a little.
I'm excited about that. I got to talk to
Just a little jab.
I've finished 2 more sketches since the last time we talked.
Oh, right on, man. I love that. I'm trying to get back into it.
I'm starting to shake the rust off a little bit. I feel better.
But artists are.
Yeah,
crazy.
artists are. Yeah, we suck. We're bad.
No,
people.
I didn't say you suck or that you're bad people. I just said you're a little nuts.
Yeah, we're a little off, but
my mother's an artist.
I like her mom. I like the way her mom looks. I think Kisa's going to age well.
Hey now.
Did you say you're hot for my mom?
We were dating when we met. That's how we
I
met.
just threw up.
No, but I remember looking at Levi's drawings. In fact, there was the one I can't remember. It was some sort of a restaurant drawing, or it was some play on food.
Meaty Mart?
Yeah.
Yes, Meaty Mart. Meaty Mart. So he seems like he's pretty artistic.
Yeah, he's piss and vinegar. He's like, he will not be pushed around. He hits back, he pushes back, he scratches back, he punches back. He
sounds like an artist.
Yeah, he's in that way. He doesn't tolerate nonsense.
He's incredible.
He's a super
He's
amazing human.
No, I know.
And I love him.
I know, but he's just has such a big personality. But when you meet him, he seems very quiet and shy, and he just needs to warm up.
He's collecting information.
Yes, so he can dominate the hangout. But, you know, like I was the type of artist growing up where I had to look at a picture and then square it off, and then I can draw a portrait that looks just like you. But I need to really, like, let's map this out. So
That's funny. That's
I
exactly
was
how
gonna
I
say.
draw, and portraits are my thing. Like, I love drawing
pencil
people.
drawing. Yeah. Now,
We should
Levi
talk.
and John can just think of something in their head and draw it out, and it's freaking amazing. I mean, the kid was like 2-3 years old, and I'm just like, I just want to hang every single thing that you're making up. Like the first time he can write something, it's a spider family or this haunted forest or this crazy monster castle, and it's always monsters and like darker things. You know, they grew up on the far side, and so he's got this
Nice.
wicked like sense of humor about him. And I just think him and Jack really balance each other out
Yes.
well. And I feel like they were, you know, John wanted 5 kids.
Why? That's an uneven number. How are you
No idea.
going to pick teams?
You know,
Right?
it
There's going
was-
to be one kid left out.
And my sister had twins. So she had a daughter who was like 1.5-ish, 2, and then got pregnant with twins when John and I were dating. So we were very instrumental in helping her with all 3 of these kids because it's overwhelming, as you know, when you have twins.
We don't know anything about that.
And so
Overwhelm is my middle name.
Right? And so we were so present, and John was just like, this is awesome. And I was like, but we go home and we leave Dawn with all these kids. Like, it's different, you know, when they're your own. And then we had Jack, and he's like, this is really hard. Maybe we're like a 3-person family.
I did say that.
Yeah. And I said, look, we got to give him a sibling because it's harder when you just have one.
Heck yeah.
With one, you're everything, right? Like you are the coordinator and you're doing the puzzles and the this and the that. With 2, you're just like, right this way, please.
Drop
Do
you
your
off in this
thing.
room.
I don't know what 2 would have been like. I imagine it would have been amazing, and we probably would have stopped. But we went from 1 to 3, and so then at that point, I was just like, okay, well,
Well, the plan was.
Kisa wanted 6.
I
Wow.
did. I wanted 6 because that's an even number, John.
So was 4.
So it's 3 on 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured there'd be like 4 would handle themselves, and there would be 1 outlier that we could like team up on. Maybe that was the strategy. I don't know.
Combat strategy.
There was no strategy.
We had 1, and then we decided to go for number 2 and got 2 and 3.
Yep.
Which is my favorite thing to tell the twins is, hey, actually I tell all 4 of the kids this. Listen, of all 4 of y'all, only one of you is playing. We just don't know which twin it is.
That's true.
Keep them guessing.
They're on their toes. I love it.
Well, and I thought Levi and Jack would be exactly the same, which is so stupid because I worked at this preschool with all these crazy kids and have this giant
Wait a second.
family.
Did you
know?
really think that they were
Yeah,
going to
I
be the
just
same?
thought they were going to be so similar, and it was just because Jack was so easy, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
If you keep having kids, and we stopped at 4, but I'm pretty sure if you keep having them, you'll never have 2 that are the same.
Yeah.
Because our 4 couldn't be any different.
Jamie's aunts and uncles, the 17 of them, there's not
zip, none
there's
are the
not
same.
one that's similar to another. They're
Which
all
is crazy,
it's
right? Because I
insanity.
mean, it's the same DNA. It just get mixed up different ways every time, I guess. Like,
You think like similar childhood experiences, being raised by the same people.
no, we
you
have
know.
twins, and there couldn't be more
Well,
different.
Yeah.
and those kids can be in the exact same situation, experiencing the exact same, external pressures or external happenings, and all 4 of them will come away from it with a completely different experience.
Oh yeah, their memory of things is just so
Which-
like okay,
If
not
I'm
right or wrong.
If I'm involved in that experience, usually the 4 of them are wrong, and my recollection is correct.
Sounds right.
From their perspective, is exactly the opposite. The difference is all 4 of theirs line up, and Keith is the outlier.
Because they take after their father. They're crazy. They're all crazy. I'm the sane one. Or maybe it's the other way around. You could see their personalities when they were born.
yeah.
Exactly. Jack, everybody was drawn to him. We would have strangers want to take pictures of him. And okay, sure, you can. And I'd be at Target, and you can't be like anonymous because Jack's dragging people over, like as a young baby, like grabbing someone's shirt, like, you know, Mom, why didn't they say hi to me in the elevator? I'm just like, they don't know you. And Levi was polar opposite. People would look at him and try to be like, oh, and he would do this, turn away. I mean, he would close his eyes when he was an infant if someone was trying to talk to him because it was just too much, you know?
One of the dads, I remember you told me, I know the dad, John, that, I can't, he came in the baby house. One of the dads who had
Came
his
in the baby
second-
house?
The baby house,
where Jamie worked
where
at
I
the
worked,
preschool.
where we
And
kept all the cute babies.
Levi's in the baby house. They have an older son who's in the same classroom as Jack, so they know Jack. Their son grew up with Jack. They're, you know, a few houses up in the preschool, and Levi's in the baby house, and they had just had a baby, and he comes in to see his baby, brand new, little newborn, 6-7 weeks right at the start, and then Levi's there at like maybe 6 months, and the dad takes one look at him and kind of is perplexed, and I think he was talking, I can't remember if he was talking to you or me, this is where my memory is not good, but he says something to the effect of, is that your kid? And we're like, yeah, this is Levi. And he says, wow, he really doesn't like me, or it was something like that, where he got these really like piss off vibes, and it was like, just back off.
Don't get too close.
Yeah, don't get close. That was a window. I was like, oh,
fantastic.
wow, yeah.
So you feel like if Levi is engaging with you, you feel like you are number one superstar. You're just like, yes, fist pump, like, I did it, you know? And I think the truth is he's just kind of shy, and it's overwhelming for him. I mean, we actually went to see if he was autistic or something. Like, is he special? They're like, no, he's just special.
Yeah, he's special.
Yeah, he's
In his own way.
In his own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, that might be part of the artist too, though, because I noticed like with our 4 kids, if I had to pick one that had the most in common with Levi, it'd be Joe.
Yeah.
Right?
When he started talking at like 18 months, 2,
And
3.
he's you know,
3.
he records music, and he, you know, and again, I think it's similar too, right? Like he gets uncomfortable sometimes, like smiles,
sure.
laughs, and does goofy stuff. But
when he has an affliction, when he gets in trouble, he laughs.
Oh, Levi's the
smiles.
exact same way.
Yeah.
And people think he's being rude, and I'm like, I
Right.
think he's just trying to get out of the situation and make you
I
not as mad.
I feel
you know?
so bad because I didn't realize it until very recently. And for years, the teachers would get so upset with Joe. And I realized they weren't upset about what he did that was wrong. They were upset about his reaction when they reprimanded him.
disrespect.
Yeah, he's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
I was
there
like,
were
no
teachers mad at him today.
No, because he didn't go to school. I know. I called to excuse his absences from last week.
I woke him up 4 times today. 4 times.
I called today to excuse his absences from last week, which were really inexcusable. He's just 17 and has senioritis and didn't want to go to school.
Senioritis.
And she said, oh, so did you want to excuse him for the whole day today? And I was like, yes, I do. And she said, oh, is he feeling all right? I was like, yes. He's going to be at school sometime. I promise.
It's been a lot easier with absences at the schools. I don't know if it's just our perception of it, but I think because of COVID, they're just like, oh, your kid's not feeling, you stay home. Is he checking in on, like, Jack's diligent. He checks in online and does homework and such.
What's interesting about this is that Joe is, I'm pretty sure he's still passing all of his classes. He told me he was going to graduate. He assured me that he would graduate.
Sounds like me.
I told him, I said, look, we're 3 for 3. Do not be the first one who doesn't graduate high school, please.
But now that I think about it, when he told me, don't worry, Mom, I'm going to graduate, only one of the classes he's taking this semester he needs. Everything else he doesn't need for graduation.
Well, that might be why he stays home.
Oh, my God. He did it to me again. He does
Planned that out, I feel, though, because when we came in the summer, he was
time.
telling me his kickback schedule. He was. He said it's great. It's going to be super kickback. He was taking this music class, all these things. And I was like,
He was. The history of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. which he almost failed, by the way, and hurt the teacher's feelings on his way out.
And the teacher liked him.
And he has that same teacher for guitar, Mr. Eccles.
I gotta say, I love the names here in Montana as well.
Yes.
Eccles.
Love it.
Levi's teacher, Lamers.
Lamers.
Yeah, it's a tough one. His first, he was like, what did he say? He goes, because that's his new teacher, because the teacher he had when he first started here just had her baby. So she went to 8.5 months, pulled out like 2 weeks before having the baby, Miss Fusaro.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Miss Lamers came in and he goes, yeah, my new teacher's name is Miss Lamers. Tough name there. And he delivered it
wrong.
just like that. 4th grader. I was like, yeah, love your delivery, son.
Yeah.
That's good.
Not wrong.
Jack has a tough name too. Was it Balls?
Oh, yeah. No,
one?
it's,
Balls?
is it Balls?
Something to do with balls, guys.
Oh, he has a new, that's right. It's not his homeroom or whatever teacher. It's another one. Yeah.
Home base.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, they still have like pods, right?
Yeah, it's
They have
fantastic.
the
It's really
home-based
cool.
teacher and then the pods. It's awesome that he's kind of here during COVID because they're letting the kids, I don't know if they did this before, but at lunchtime he can go and watch a movie in the classrooms. So the fact that he doesn't know any kids, he doesn't have to stress out like about finding this friend group or whatever, because they have a place for him to go, which I super appreciate. They also had a big lunch with him a couple weeks after he got there to make sure he was okay. And all his teachers were there having lunch with him, which I just was blown away by.
It's so incredible.
Thank you, Montana.
He's
needed it.
taking his time getting to know the other kids because he understands they're migrating to high school and it's going to be
And he's going to be
bit
at
of a different
Glacier.
experience.
Yeah.
Glacier, yeah. So he's been just slow. He just wants to make sure when he picks his friends that he's picking
Right.
solid people.
How so very mature of him. So that chapter was not in our manual on parenting, how to teach your kids emotional maturity. Could you give the audience a down and dirty instructional?
I might be wrong, but I'm gonna say it probably has a lot to do with some of the post-runaway therapy. He had a really fantastic,
amazing therapist
who the way she structured it was we attended the first few sessions with him, kind of laid out the groundwork. She kind of just chatted with us, kind of got to know us. Then she had Jamie in alone one day, and then it was me in alone another day, and just asking us questions about him, our relationship with him, our experience with him leaving. And then was it 1.5 years he did with her? Yeah. And man, the first year was hard. Therapy's not easy, airing all that stuff out. And I'm gonna say I saw the least of it. Jamie was there a lot. She went to many of the sessions until kind of closer to the end when the therapist said, hey, he'd like to have some time just with me. And the last 4 or 5 months really transformed. He just had a different way of carrying himself, of reasoning out his problems, reasoning out how he felt, and establishing just a feeling of being grounded with those feelings and being okay with it. And we still bump heads with him on stuff.
He's
13.
Yeah,
13.
He's 13, but
And puberty's happening, and that's so hard. And he'll just be too like, I don't know why I'm acting like this, Mom. I'm sorry. Like, and I'll be like, don't worry. When I go through menopause, I'm going to act like that. So I'll get you back, But he just stopped worrying so much about what other people thought about him, and just believing in himself that he's a good person,
What an amazing lesson to learn at that age.
For sure. Don't you think that we all learned that in our 20s or something? If not, we haven't learned it yet.
Yeah, still
I'm in my
working on it.
mid-40s. I'm still working on it.
Well, I had this.
I just started working on it at 46.
It's hard, guys.
So hard.
I had this incredible allergic reaction like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And my whole face blew up. And we didn't know why it happened, and it was crazy. And then after that, it dried out, and I had like welt pimples almost. And here I am crying because I don't want to go to this dinner with people I haven't met yet and have this welty, pimply face. And I'm just like, they don't know me. And then Jack is like, Mom, look at my face. Look at all these pimples. And what do you tell me all the time? Nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about you in that way. Like, people aren't looking at that kind of thing. And if they are, then you don't really want to be their friend. my 13-year-old is hugging me and telling me these things. I'm like, you're right, you know, and then he hands me his like spot cream for acne, you know.
I got a great formula for you.
Right, it works.
So what's interesting is that the Growing Gorillas Kids program, right? Child development, you know, there's all these elements of, I mean, we just swiped all that stuff. We took a jiu-jitsu curriculum and then we added our experience with Ted going through physical therapy and occupational therapy and just therapy. And that became the curriculum. And the whole time, and the reason for that was that as Ted was going through all those things as a toddler, young child, middle school child, you know, all the therapies that he has been in forever, his 3 younger siblings by default went through the same, because whatever we had to do with Ted at home, obviously the rest of the kids had that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? Everybody's getting potty trained this weekend. Everyone's learning to ride a bike. Guess what? We're all taking our shoes off in this way. We're all got this Montessori method for, you know, learning how to be self-sufficient at this young age. And that was so being able to watch now these other 3, you know, neurodevelopmentally normal kids, benefit so greatly from this type of structured environment. I was like, well, obviously this needs to be in a jiu-jitsu curriculum. This needs to be in a curriculum period. Like, how do you spread this information to all the children so that they can benefit in the same way that Stella, Ricky, and Joe did, the same way that Ted did, and he was the one who really needed it. So it seems like what Jack experienced and what we're all witnessing now from Jack's phenomenally mature way of being a 13-year-old and helping his mother through some hard times.
Somebody has to. I'm not really that awesome at that.
It seems like that's probably what the Southern California School District was looking for when they were trying to add feelings into the curriculum.
Yes.
And how they missed the mark, who knows? But it seems like that's the experience that I think a lot of, or maybe the experience that a lot of educators are aiming for, and it just hasn't happened yet.
I totally agree with you. And for a little background, Levi also has epilepsy. And that was something that didn't get diagnosed young for him. I want to say
absent seizures.
Seizures, yeah. So,
We talked about this.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
First grade, he got diagnosed. Yeah. John's mom has epilepsy real bad. My sister has epilepsy to the grand mal points. So for us, that's what epilepsy was. Like, you're having this grand mal seizure.
Right.
It was intense.
Not just that you space out and aren't paying attention.
Right. And so there were many times when Levi was like being ornery, but maybe you're just checked out, right?
Right.
And so Jack, growing up with this brother who's going through this, when we discovered what was actually going on, and then through all of these therapy sessions, it was kind of the same thing. Like, we need to help Levi learn how to manage his emotions. Mm-hmm. And wow, guess what? We all need to learn how to manage our emotions. Because isn't child development really just human development, right? And you're just hoping that when you start young that it won't be as hard, you know. And I went to all the therapy sessions with Levi, which was wonderful because him and I were kind of traumatized in the same way. Because we couldn't leave when Jack ran away. We couldn't be proactive. So Levi and I had post-traumatic stress. Right. It happens with the soldiers too, right? Like, they're in a situation and they can't get away. They can't do anything about it. They're stuck there witnessing. And it's hard because you just get trapped in that moment, you know, and the only way to get out of it is to just keep reliving it and reliving it and reliving it.
Inoculation, right?
Yeah. So we learned so many things, and I'm so glad that it came at these pivotal times in their development where they can move forward. You know, like when Levi was so upset the other night when we were out and we didn't tell him how long, Jack was like, he might need to go back to therapy. He's like, sorry, Mom, I know this is my fault, you know, and we joke about it like, well, it is, but it's not, you know. But really, it was just that we had kind of laxed on knowing that this is an issue for you and we need to be clear, right? Because John and I hadn't gone out in a long time because of COVID or whatever, you know. So I definitely see routines are super important. Kids want to make you happy. They want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't really want to be in charge.
No.
That's when they have behavioral problems and all these issues come up. You're the parent. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that's hard, you know, these days.
We hear that all the time when parents come and they're like, oh, well, you know, I know we just signed our kid up but they've come, you know, 5 or 6 classes, but, you know, they don't really want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And we're like, bitch, you signed a 1-year contract. Guess what?
They made a commitment.
You were all coming to the gym for the next year, because it's when they hit that hard spot where it's uncomfortable. You know, of course, as parents, we want everything to just feel good for the child, but more importantly, we also don't want to go through the hard stuff ourselves. Mm-hmm. And bringing a child to do something that they don't necessarily want to do has very little to do with their wants. It has more to do with their anxieties, their fears, and what stage that they're at, and what's going on outside of their little tiny 1 hour twice a week world. And more often than not, in our experience, it has to do with what's happening at home, with what's, you know, happening at school maybe. And we see it time and time and time again. And my hat's off to every parent who steps up and is like, okay, hold up. Let's look at the big picture. What's the end game? What are we actually looking for here? And what skills are we lacking that we need some help figuring out how to do? Now we know to call Jack.
He'll talk you through it, guys.
Right? Montana history.
Well, they say it takes a village, right, to raise a child. I think that's I think as a dad, you kind of want to feel like you have the answers to any and all of the problems your young boys are going to come up against, or that your experience is somehow directly related to what they're going through. But just like you guys said, we could be in the same room at the exact same time, experience the exact same thing, and come out with 2 completely different perceptions of what just happened. And you don't always know what's floating around in their heads, and you don't always know what to say to help them. And if I look back at my childhood, I think about the uncles, the grandparents who would say something or do something at a particular moment that maybe resonated stronger than what my father told me, despite the fact it was probably the exact same message. And it's for me realizing that while I'm solely in charge of making sure my child is a good human and he has a good home and he's fed and we impart a lot of important lessons to him, he is being raised in the world. And where I don't fulfill the job requirements for a particular skill set or something he has to learn, I need to go, hey, I need help. And I need somebody to show him how to do this, show me how to do this for him or with him. And that's been cool. And I think that's where, you know, when I had my gym, SBG SoCal, Coach Marco was my right-hand man for years. And Coach Marco to Jack and to Levi is like an uncle. And Marco could tell when I would come in and I was just up to my eyeballs with like, I can't stand this kid and it's my kid. He knew, and he would take a moment or two out of the class or during class to, you know, tell them what they need to hear, listen to what they have to say, and speak to them in that coach-like manner that I could say the exact same thing. My kids won't listen. They'll just, Dad. He says it and it carries weight because Marco's opinion of them matters, and they love Marco in a I don't want to let you down kind of way. They can let me down all day. I have to love them, right? So I think that's the beauty of it. But
that, and your voice also sounds like this.
Yes. Yeah. That again, Dad? Yeah.
Yeah, there's truth to that for sure. I mean, I see it all the time as a coach to kids where it's like parents come up to me like, they listen to you. But then I saw it firsthand with my own kids because I was still the same coach, still the same classes, but the difference was they were my kids. And so even though they were seeing the same person all the other kids were seeing in class, didn't connect the same way.
You have the same voice that John does.
He does have a very nice voice. It's a very Barry White-esque.
Wow. Super Canadian.
So we should ask him what the their theme songs are. Isn't that your new question?
Yeah, it's so that we always end the podcast with 4 questions.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
And we never tell people what the questions are.
Is that true?
I haven't. You might have cheated and told your friends ahead
I
of time.
might have told Kristen something.
I didn't hear
remember.
anything, so I'm
Okay,
unprepared, but ready.
so first question is, pick a theme song
Our theme song.
for your life as a parent and your life as a parent.
Pick your own song.
You can go first. I already know what mine is. Or I'll go first because I know and you have to think.
No, I have it. I just can't remember the name of the damn song.
You can also
Well, you
sing
can
it.
just sing it.
You can
We've
sing it.
established you have such a great voice.
What is it that? What is it? The Led Zeppelin. Wow!
Oh
Oh, the immigrant song.
The
Yes.
immigrant song. Not just because I'm
They
an
come
immigrant.
from the land of ice and snow.
But I think that like the levels of rage and battle, as a parent, rage and battle.
Oh my
There
God,
it is.
that's perfect.
All right, the immigrant song, Led Zeppelin. That's
Okay,
my
that's
new
a good
favorite
one.
choice so far.
That's a good one.
Mine is less epic, maybe. Mine's Gratitude by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, I love that song.
That is, especially Jack and I, that's our theme song. I mean, we've been through so much. We've pretty much let go of everything that has been our identity, right? And moved here to this new place. And yet we have so much, you know? And so every time we'd get down, be like, oh my gosh, better put our song on, you know?
Just so you know, you just went up like 27
was-
notches in my book.
That's her
because
favorite band.
I'm the #1 Beastie Boys fan.
We might have to
Gratitude.
arm wrestle for it.
You have the.
Oh my God.
We'll have you over to read the Beastie Boys book together. You guys can hang
I'll
out.
bring my
Yes.
copy.
Oh my God. Let's highlight it.
Have you seen the documentary yet?
You know, we can't afford to get that channel yet, so I haven't
Netflix
seen
or-
it yet.
I
But
feel
we'll
like-
come over to your house. and
Okay,
we'll
I feel
have
like we
a
might
party.
have it. I don't know how to turn on our TV though, so I might need to try.
One of the kids will turn it
Yeah,
on.
maybe Levi
You guys,
can come
Yes.
help us.
you guys
Yes.
can come over and you can listen to Beastie Boys on vinyl at our house, and you can also watch the documentary because we have all
Check
the
your head,
channels.
1992.
We're down with
That
all
will
of
be a
that.
dream come true
Yeah.
for me.
Plus, you haven't been to the house since we remodeled it.
I know I
No.
need to see it.
We saw photos of Kisa very happy with dining chairs and your range. So.
And I think I helped pick out
She's
the
been
paint color.
saving
You
me
did.
so much money.
I know.
In the
I'm
last
basically
year.
a money saver.
God, I can't tell you how much money I've saved because of Kisa.
I know. I saved you some more money today too.
I like the way of looking at that.
So next question.
Yep.
What was in your opinion, your biggest failure as a parent? Like if you had to pick a moment in time over the last 13 years, because I guess you've been parents for 13 years, pick a point in time where you were like, man, I just totally whiffed. Like I sucked at that moment. A parenting failure.
I think it was when I didn't take his issue seriously enough. I wasn't able to step outside of my preconceived notion of what school was and what kids went through. And when we were sitting in that principal's office and the vice principal turned it around and said, your son must have done something to make these kids so mad at him. And I'll try to get to it tomorrow, but I just have so much going on. And I should have said, you know what, don't worry about it. We're never coming back here again. But instead, I put my faith in them instead of putting my faith in just my child and the things he had gone through. And I definitely think it was a hard lesson to learn, but we went through the steps I'll never make that mistake again.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
That was the moment I was going to describe.
Okay.
big one.
So you guys
Yeah.
share the same
Yeah, that was
parenting fail.
Yes.
They would probably have many more.
I was going to say every
you ask
time
them.
every time I raise my voice
You feel
unnecessarily, that's like a mini fail. But in terms of us kind of letting ourselves and our kids down, that would be the one. Yeah.
Okay. So now flip it and think of like a highlight, like the something that you did or said or acted, in a way that you thought like, man, I'm really good at this parenting
Nailed
thing.
it.
Every single time Jamie and I get a curveball thrown at us where our life kind of gets just tossed up in the air. We don't stop loving each other. We don't stop showing affection to each other. We don't stop feeding our kids dinner and sitting down and making that an important part of our day. We don't stop all the little things that make parenthood important, and we always show our kids how we can land on our feet. And my biggest hope is that they one day will look back and say, hey, you know, that was quite a shitstorm we've been through. We've been through a few of them, and you know, mom and dad always just made the best of it, and hopefully they'll have that resiliency. And at least it's been hopefully it modeled about as well as we could have done up till now, and hopefully we just get better at doing that.
That's a good one.
Totally agree. I feel like sometimes people think that life should just be peaches and cream all the time. And they're like, why are these things happening to me? These things that are happening to you are just life. Like nobody said it was going to not be that way. And it's all in the way that you look at it and you take it in. And I think we've been a really good example for the boys of this is happening to us, but this isn't us. You know, like we're going to be okay. Like it's totally going to be okay. And John and I are truly and deeply in love. So I think the biggest parenting awesomeness is that I didn't settle, you know, like we chose our best friends, and, you know, I wanted to get married and have this whole life way earlier than I did, but I'm so glad that I waited for the right person. And our kids look at us and they say, we want what you and dad have, you know, and both of us came from childhoods where we didn't see that, you know. And I think it's just really important that your kids see you like making out and thinking each other funny and like all that stuff, you know, like I want to be human to my kids, you know, and I think we do a really good job of showing that good and bad, like we're in it together, you know.
What do you like to say? You say, when the kids are gone, we're stuck with each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, you know, like.
You guys are going to leave us.
Better
I'm
be
stuck
someone
with
you
this
like.
guy.
Right? So, yeah.
Okay, last question.
Is like the one gold nugget for somebody who's, you know, becoming a parent or maybe is a parent already, like one piece of advice, maybe something that somebody told you or something you would have liked to have been told.
Gold nuggets from the baby room.
The baby house.
Or the baby house, yeah.
Don't have kids. Don't have kids.
Warning.
I think something a lot of parents need to hear these days is let your kids fail. Let them experience things. I think that, and I don't know about you guys, but my childhood, I feel like my parents weren't around a lot. It was kind of like I would go off and play for hours and hours and hours with whoever was willing, and then I'd come back. Whereas now a lot of parents are right there, you know, and they're helping their kids navigate every single thing. And it's kind of doing them a detriment. You know, I wish that I would have been more fearless and trusted their instincts more as human beings, you know, to let them just explore and discover and fail, you know, and not always try to save them or fix it or be the go-between when the kids are fighting and whatnot. So I wish I could have told younger Jamie, like, kick back, relax, be okay.
Let him pour that red wine.
Red wine, it's no biggie. 3, climb a tree, it's fine.
Get out of that tree and get you another glass of wine.
That sounds perfect. Man.
I got to tell you, though, what my dad would always say to me is, you are going to do and try everything. I know it. I just want you to always have respect for yourself. You know, so don't ever lose sight of, like, you're important and you're going to do things and really think, like, am I respecting myself right now? And then he would also say, you can't shit a shitter. That was his big motto, right? Like, don't lie to me. Like, you're going to do stuff and I can see right through you because I've done it myself. And it's so funny because my son Levi will say that, hey, Mom, like, I didn't lie to you because, you know, you can't S&S her.
He might be gaming the system. Yeah.
That's how you know you can trust me because I know the motto. Like, oh, all right.
That's that fun part. They're at that age now where, like, we let the cussing roll out a little more and we're a little more carefree with that. We were kind of, because
we tell
of preschool.
them, know your audience.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, too.
Yeah.
Know your audience.
So now, like, swears are funny, and that's good. I think that's how it should be. And they'll hear me cuss if I bang my toe, and, you know, it's good. Fuck, you know, like.
Yeah, that part of it gets better. I'm really enjoying like having 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds, and
You've been playing poker with your kids and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're playing poker next Saturday too, and it's just like, it's really cool because then for me, I'm not speaking for Kisa here, but for me, it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, whoa, like they're kind of like adults now, and they turned out pretty okay. Like I, as an adult, actually enjoy this adult's company. Like we can actually interact, so we didn't mess it up that bad. Like
I feel like they outgrew me at the age of like 8 or 9. And so I don't really understand the conversations that they have anymore.
she has Stella still.
I do.
Just call Jack.
I did. I think Stella was like 8 or 9 and all the kids were in the minivan. I was like, just stay here. I'm going to run in. I'll be right back. Just stay here. And I went and got groceries, and I opened the slider just in time to hear Stella tell Ted to fuck off. What's your gold nugget, John Boone?
I thought Jamie had it. Hold on.
Well, she did have it. That
Yeah.
was her.
She had a lot
can't,
of my
like,
nugget.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take all her good ideas.
I told you I have all the good ideas.
This probably is less of a gold nugget and more of like just a bit of common sense. But I'm putting my phone down a lot more these days and just trying to be a little more in the moment, because they are starting to be fleeting. When the moment that a month and a half ago, Jack was having a hard time with his hair, and he's like, "Dad, can you help me with my hair?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, son," because he can't get to the back. And my arms keep going up and up and up. And I'm like, damn, my arms are over my head and I'm helping his hair. Like, he was up to my hip a minute ago. He was a baby. Like, I can picture him in this stupid tub with his fat little face and playing little games with him. And now he's a man. I help him with shaving. Like, that shit goes fast. And I've definitely we've been running our own gym and going through the changes in LA that we've had to go through, and just trying to grind so hard for so long. I missed a lot, and there was definitely time where I probably could have been in that moment, and I lost it because I was preoccupied, or fixing the website was more important, or posting the class picture was more important. And it's like, that is bullshit. All that is. So yeah, I put the phone down a lot more when they're home. So yeah, put your phones down, people.
That's good advice.
That's a golden
Rob would approve of that.
Yeah, would. Congratulations, Jamie. You're no longer a virgin.
Woohoo!
See?
It only gets better from here, huh?
I know. I can't wait.
All right, you want to get some beat?
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining us today. If you want more information about the Growing Gorillas martial arts program for kids, please visit growinggorillas.com.
And if you're interested in finding an SBG near you in the state of Montana, please visit us at sbgmontana.com.
See you soon.
Stay gold, Pony Boy.
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Catch you on the flipper dipper.
After a while, crocodile.
I don't know anymore.
See you later, alligator.
Bye.